All right, hopefully this sounds good this time. Last time, the weirdest thing, YouTube live, right? We went first time last week, and come to find out, if there's two conditions that make it happen, and it's out of phase or mono signal, it won't go through the speaker on a cell phone. It'll go through the Bluetooth on a cell phone. It'll go through the headphones on a cell phone, but it won't go through the speaker.
That's weird.
Isn't that strange? Yeah.
That's strange, yeah.
Very weird. And also there was a buzz. So I think it was because we were coming out of that monitor output, I'm hoping.
Yeah, hopefully that was it.
And there should be no reason, because there's a normal signal coming out of the headphones. Headphones is a stereo signal. It's just like a normal signal.
Yeah, I'm not too good with all this tech stuff, no.
Well, I years ago studied about sound recording when everything was analog. It actually was just coming over to digital.
Oh, nice.
And I studied this book. I was driving across the country, and I was like really studying it, taking notes and all this stuff, and then it was all obsolete.
No.
So, whatever. I never did anything with it anyway. I came in.
Are you doing something with it now?
Hard drug addict.
All right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're live on here and here, so whenever you're ready.
Nice.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So let's do it. Okay, the Life on Life's Terms podcast. I'm Tom Robinson, and like I always say, we're not affiliated with any 12-step program. I'd like to give a shout out to our intro music, which is on the audio podcast only. That's Last Stand, the Ballad of Quasimodo. And who's the outro music again?
It's Right Hook.
Right Hook, that's right. Right Hook
mini Paz. Solids in the hip hop game.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's see.
So we're coming to you from a New Way Recovery Center.
Yeah.
Quincy, Mass.
I'm Chris Mandeville. Yes, and like Tom said, we're at a New Way Recovery Center in Quincy. And tonight we have Andrew, who I've asked to share with us.
Yeah, he stepped up last minute. Props, big props.
Yep.
Excellent stuff. Everybody, anybody wants to come on the podcast, let us know.
Yeah, message us, whatever.
Somebody was talking about any ladies. We just had some ladies, but podcast audio version hasn't come out yet. Plus, they were talking about POC, which I didn't know what the hell that was until I figured it out. Light dawned on me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Anybody wants to come on. People of color.
Gotcha.
Nope. Anybody that wants to come on. Anyone.
Yeah, come on.
We want treatment professionals. We want.
That's right. Al-Anon.
Yeah, Al-Anon. People that may have lost somebody.
Adult children.
Yeah. We want to cover all aspects.
Yeah.
So that whoever sees this or watches this can get the help they need, hopefully.
Yeah, get the most out of it.
Yep.
But all right, so what the guest usually tells their story or whatever, and we go back and forth and talk about this and that.
There you go.
All right.
I got some coffee. All right, so you can let it rip.
Stage, all right.
Chip.
Sounds good.
Potato chip. Brotato chip.
Yeah. Name's Andrew. I am 22 years old. I grew up in Attleboro, Massachusetts. And, let's see. So I grew up with a nice family. I had my mom, I had my dad, a dog, little sister. It was like the dream, the American dream.
Leave it to Beaver.
Yeah, right? Yeah. The nice house and, everything that you would want or need to say. And my father was an alcoholic, and he had back surgery and was out of work too long, and they took his job from him, so he was home all day, 7 days a week, and discovered that he wasn't done with the booze yet, and started drinking again. And
now was this after pain medication?
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
he went on the pain medication after the surgery.
Yeah, see, I think that's why, I would never wanted to go, like, do the marijuana maintenance program or anything like that, you know what I mean? Because I was like, anything that's going to get me out of my mind could possibly lead me back down that road to my drug of choice, and, that means death to me.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean,
I've died a bunch of
hats
times.
off to the people I know that have been able to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just good for
seriously.
them.
Very few.
If they're happy,
Very few, but
Yep.
most of the people I know are of the hopeless variety and end up back where they started.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
So started with the pain medication, and the booze kicked in, and that's when, I'm young. I was like in fourth grade, third, fourth grade, and like, I didn't know really what was going on because I was too young. I only remember getting picked up from the bus stop, and my dad's passed out drunk in the driver's seat, and all the other kids' parents are out like, hey, how was your school, and how was the day, and what'd you guys do today? And my dad's slumped over in the driver's seat, and calling friends parents to come and drive me home, or driving home
Ooh.
myself and pushing my dad over, and
It's a rough spot.
yeah, kicking beer cans, like 20-30 beer cans, so I can step into the passenger seat. Fourth grade, I had no idea what was going on.
Did he make it back in to sobriety? or-
No, my father is actually incarcerated at the moment. He had off and on, and
Son of a gun.
you do it for your kids, you do it for this, you do it for that. My father never figured out that you have to do it for yourself, and I'm blessed to say that I was able to figure out that little key. You know what I mean? And so right now he was on the wagon for, I want to say, a couple months, and then got back into a relationship with a girl who was toxic. That was another thing when I was first growing in recovery. No early relationships, because it's just as powerful as a drug.
Oh, yeah.
And
You want to see how sober you are? Get in a relationship.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
You want to take someone's inventory?
yeah.
Get in a relationship.
Yep.
Well.
So
Toughest thing I've found in recovery.
for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a giant challenge.
Yep. Emotional entanglement.
Yeah.
That was the old QMN beginners meeting question. How do you stay away from emotional entanglement?
That's an interesting term, huh?
Yes.
So he ended up getting into that relationship, and it turned very toxic, and he got accused of some pretty bad stuff. And I mean, if he continues down, I shouldn't say if he continues down, because he's already behind bars and looking at some serious time. But let's say he was to get out and start living this life, like, he would have the gifts of sobriety, is what everybody told me. Like, he'd have his kids back, he'd have his family back, he'd get those things back. But I mean, it's all on him, and that's really where it lies. But when that happened, when I was a kid, my mom sold the house, and we had this huge yard sale, and we sold everything in the house. And I remember holding a sign at the end of the street, like, yard sale. And I was on my rollerblades, and I rollerbladed back up the street, and there was like 6 cop cruisers in front of my house. I was like, what the heck is going on? And
They're looking for used stuff.
it's like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Sell a yard sale.
Yeah, right. Yard sale. I'll pull over.
Selling
and,
blue clothes over there.
Yeah, right. My mother's bawling her eyes out. I'm like, what is going on? So my mother was robbed at gunpoint.
A yard sale?
Or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, she her wedding rings were stolen, and something like that. And
Holy cow! Attleboro's a tough place.
I mean, like, I was a kid when all this stuff was happening, and who knows if I'm remembering it correctly, but I just remember, like, these bits and pieces of, like, my younger life. And I remember moving we moved to Norwood, Mass, in with my Nana, and me, my mom, and sister lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with my Nana. We slept in one room. I slept on the pull-out couch. My mom and sister shared the bed, and we lived like that for about 9 months. I had to go to a new school. My sister was still very young at this point, so she really had no idea what was going on, but I was starting to grab onto things and kind of understand what was going on. And, you know, I go to this new school and I meet all these new kids, and, you know, I don't feel right. And that was like the first time in my life where I really started to look at myself and say, like, I don't feel comfortable.
Awkward. You feel awkward.
Yeah, like I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. It wasn't just the new kids. It wasn't the new school. It wasn't the new teachers.
How old was this though?
5th grade. So I was probably about 10.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure to drug use. It wasn't me doing it. But I was coming home from school one day, and there was 2 heroin addicts up on the top. There was this big hill, and they used to sleep up top. And that was the first time I ever saw a needle in my life. And, you know, here I am. I'm like running down the hill to my apartment and telling my nana, like, these people up there, they're sticking themselves with these needles. And she's like, don't go near them. And, you know, because she knew I was still young. And,
man.
You know, that was my first exposure to somebody who was struggling with the battle of addiction.
Makes me wonder if I was ever somebody's first exposure, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah.
I know I was.
Yeah.
I remember being in Brockton, that park there, they call it Needle Park. And we were, you know, just over by the fence, hitting, and cops pull up, took that set of works because they were illegal, shoved it into the ground, all the way down into the ground.
Yeah.
Like, I got nothing. She gonna charge me for what's in my body.
Yep.
What a shame. What a shameful thing.
Yeah.
There's no way to live, man.
No, it's definitely not.
Those people very possibly are dead. Those people.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to tell you something. I'll tell you a little hope shot for everybody out there listening right now. And I finally got into recovery, and I went to a meeting in Norwood, Mass, and I ended up running in. So the girl, it was a couple, it was a boy and a girl, and the girl ended up dying of an overdose, but the guy actually got it. And I ran into him almost 9 years later. I want to say I was 19, sort of about my third year in recovery. And I remember hearing his name, and I always remembered his name. And I remember hearing his name in a meeting, and he came up and he got his, like, I think it was his 90-day chip or something like that. And, you know, I never approached the guy. I never said anything to him. But, like, I remember looking at him like, you were that guy that I saw when I was 10 years old laying and sleeping on top of that hill, putting needles in his arm.
Really?
And, yeah, and so we got up there, and
shit.
he, you know, a couple weeks later, he ended up speaking, and,
Wow.
like, he told his story, and I wasn't obviously in his story, but, like, I remember him. He's like, yeah, so I lived on, New Words Garden. Is that the name? No, so it's an apartment complex in Norwood. He'll come to me in a minute, but and he lived on top of that hill for, like, I don't know, the whole summer, like, into the September, and then he went and got treatment, and he bounced back and forth and did the halfway house jumps, and...
Yeah, I mean, this is, what, 9 years later?
Yeah, it was
and he's
like...
getting a 90-day chip.
Yeah, well...
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah. But, so, to bring it back to my story real quick, we moved to Norwood, and, you know, I did about 9 months, lived there, and, I was on this ADHD medicine where, like, I wouldn't eat. I'm a skinny guy. I've always been a skinny guy, but, like, I would go days without eating on this medication, and my mom would give me, like, $2 every day for lunch money. I remember saving that lunch money, and, like, this is where, you know, like, looking back on it, like, sick thinking. Like, even if I was hungry, I was putting that $2 away to save it so I could buy an Xbox or a PS1 or a PS2, you know, like, like, that's sick thinking. Like, no, I'm going to starve myself because I want what I want when I want it. And,
I'll just go home and eat something.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
that's sacrificing for what you want.
Yeah.
Go all day, you know, to not eat. And, so we moved back to Attleboro. My mom got back on her feet, and we moved into the projects in Attleboro. And, like, right off the jump, I got in with the bad kids who hung out in this complex, and that's where my story started. 11 years old, it was the first time I ever smoked weed, drinking, and running amok with these kids. and they were, you know, involved in gang banging and the whole 9 yards. And you know, I looked at these guys, like they were much older than me, as like idols, and I like looked up to them, and like, whatever you're gonna do, I'm gonna do. Whatever you need me to do, I'm gonna do. I was afraid to say no to these guys.
Yeah, you just wanted to be. You wanted to fit in. You wanted, you know, to create some identity for yourself.
Yep.
It's wild, isn't it? How impressionable you are at that age.
Yeah.
So, let's see, 12 years old was when it started getting a little bit serious. I started cutting class, and you know, I was like the most badass 8th grader out there, like doing drugs and you know, skipping school, and
badass as an 8th grader could get. That was me.
That was me. And they you know, these kids I grew up with, like you know, they're sports and, you know, smart, and they're not getting into anything that I'm getting into. And these are the kids that I grew up with when I was young, when my dad was still around. And you know, they're looking at me, and they're like my best friends. Like a couple of them, I'd asked them to be in my wedding, like, you know, but they looked at me and they're like, no, like, I'm not gonna surround myself with this. And so here I go again, I having to make all new friends in the town that I grew up with, and I still find myself with that feeling of like not fitting in and feeling, in a sense, like neglected. And so, you know, now I'm gonna do anything that these kids that I'm hanging out with, because I want to be their friends. I'll do anything they ask me to do. And
yeah, what do you like? That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Exactly.
We've all done that.
You sniff perk 30s, I'll sniff them too. And you know, 13 comes around, and tell you the story that first time I tried my first painkiller was in the back of a Mustang, and you know, this older gentleman, like, you know, 26 years old, and I'm hanging out with him at 13, and you know, he sniffs a perk 30, and I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's, you know, one of the greatest things on this planet. And I said, well, give me some then.
Oh my word!
You got $30?
Yeah, right. So 35, 40.
Yeah.
And so I did my first one, and I remember, you know, on the side of the road, like on a main highway, on my hands and knees, throwing up profusely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember puking being a great time.
Yeah. So I hopped back in this Mustang, and I'm like, you got more, right? Like, I want more of that, because the feeling that it gave me was that neglect went away, that discomfort in my own skin went away, that like I'm powerful at 13 years old and I can do and be anything that I want was inside of me now after I ingested that perk 30. And that was it. I was off and running from there. I was in and out of detox and DYS and house arrest, and you know, my mother is like, I don't even recognize this kid. Who is this kid that is living in my home?
Yeah.
And you know, she did her best. She tried to kick me out, and you know, then I'd come back and I'd play on that, you know, heartstrings, and like
you were so young.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
it's
and
crazy.
And my mom did everything and anything to help me. That was like, she just never gave up. Like, as many times as I wanted to give up later in the life, she'd grab me and like, no, this is not happening. Like, you're gonna push through this, and you're gonna get through this, and you're gonna live a better life. And
yeah, with all the stuff that she was going through.
Oh yeah,
you know,
like,
well, what you were putting her through, that's like a raging nightmare in her life. Like, I mean, to me, you know, to see my son going through something like that, I have a 13-year-old, and if he was ever doing that, I would give up everything I have, my house, my job, my car, everything I have, you know what I mean, to save him from that. And there's nothing you can do, because, I mean, I don't know what you can do. That's a good question. As a person, I mean, the Al-Anon tells you to step away, but I mean, someone that young,
that's hard, you know.
God.
Like,
I look at a
with the
13-year-old
drugs
today, and
nowadays.
think of the stuff that I was doing at that age.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like,
Yep.
insane.
Oh yeah. Oh my
Insane.
God. Ridiculous. I got a 16-year-old sister, and I put her through hell. I tell you, I put her through hell. And see, this is what the selfish thinking, right? When I was getting high and using, I would say, no, all of this stuff is happening to me. It's me, it's me, it's me. But meanwhile, my mom just went through everything that I went through, if not worse, because she was married to the guy that put us through it. My sister just went through everything, whether she can remember it or not, but she did too. She's learning to get all new friends. She's having to grow up in a new, town, and here I am, being selfish and no, it's me, it's me, it's me. And now in recovery, I can look back and be like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I had to do some serious work on myself in order to be able to say, no, it's not only me. What do you need? You know what I mean? And give back and help the person right next to you, or do the next right thing. And
yeah, I mean, that's a hard lesson, and you're very blessed that you got it so young, because that selfish behavior of the addict will carry that, will keep that lesson out away from you for years and years. I mean, I didn't get sober till I was 34, and a lot of my ways of thinking were 13, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that I was dulling my brain and dulling my emotional growth since then, and I didn't really start doing hard drugs till I was 24. But before that, I was a party animal, absolutely was. Always had a bag of weed. I always was on the way to get some beer, or was drinking beer, or
I always had the stuff that people wanted. So that people would hang out with me.
Yep. Oh yeah, you're doing perk 30s. I have 10 of them. Would you like to hang out for the next
one?
one?
You like acid? I'm getting a sheet.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, what do you need?
Yep.
Yep.
So let's see. I started. 13 was my first detox. My mom put me in there for perk 30s, and I got out and I wanted to do the right thing, and I stayed good for a little while, and then I started smoking weed and trying to do the marijuana maintenance again, and then drinking, and then like 6 months later I'm back sniffing perk 30s again, and I'm 14 now, and
that's there in itself is crazy. He's a detox, and I don't think that there was many back then.
No,
that was something that was new.
Still 2 in the state.
Yeah,
Castle.
Detox for people
for kids who are 13,
young kids
his age. Yeah,
especially kicking an opiate at 13 years old. Like, you walk in there and most of the time they're gonna think that you're lying.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next morning with all the symptoms, and they're like, whoa, like, this kid's really 13, sniffing perk 30s. Like, what is going on right now? And yes, but there is only 2 detoxes in the state. Actually, 1 detox in the state that will take 13-year-old kids who are struggling with addiction. Castle's transitioned to the more older kids, 16 to 20.
Yeah, 16.
I work at, that we'll get into that, but Mir is the only Castle, or the only detox taking 13 to 18-year-olds now.
Yeah, like, what does someone do when they, if they realize that kids, like, hooked on opiates at that age?
Yeah, I mean, what can you do?
Imagine that.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
I can't imagine that.
But it's getting younger. Kids are getting younger and younger and younger.
Most of the speaking that I do now, you guys, is at a middle school. Like, speak at middle schools, in front of middle school
which I
kids.
think is good.
Oh yeah, I think it's amazing. I'd much rather speak to middle schoolers rather than like seniors and juniors of high school. Don't get me wrong, I'll speak to anybody and I'll tell my story and I'll try and help anybody, but getting it before it starts, kind of giving them like a scary reality check, and bursting that bubble, hopefully will make them realize, like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this in order to not.
But also letting them know, what could happen.
Oh, yeah.
They just think that what they're doing is innocent or silly, or, like
smoking a Black and Mild behind the school one day.
Yeah.
Yep.
It can start as simple as that.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you latch on to those things that you can do to form some sort of some sort of identity for yourself. Like I remember at one point when I was in the 8th grade, it was like, I thought to myself, I'm just too nice. I'm too nice of a guy. I can't be looked at as too nice. I gotta start swearing more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I remember I think it was from sophomore year, the summer from sophomore year to junior year. Like, I had this massive growth spurt.
Yeah.
Like, kids that I went to school with, like, walked right by me. I let my hair grow all summer.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, really?
yeah, came back, total headbanger.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just strange.
See, I went from that white kid growing up in a suburb neighborhood to like growing up in the projects with my jeans down to my ankles and wearing these double XL tees, and I'm like 140 pounds soaking wet. So imagine me in a double X white tee.
And then you were probably like 99
Yeah,
pounds.
I was probably like 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
I mean, second time I checked myself in a detox, I was like, I would say 89 pounds soaking wet, something like that.
Yeah.
I looked it up when I first started working where I work, and it was like 89 to like 91 pounds, something around there. 90 at 14 years old. Like, you guys could have went like this and broke me,
No, bone rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was 29, but I checked in at 120 pounds.
Yeah.
That's crazy,
small
dude.
for a guy
That's
like you.
crazy.
But that's the thing, like, my whole life I was like 140, 145.
Oh, really?
I could never get above that.
Nah, me neither.
See, I
can't.
thought I was wicked skinny, and I was like 165 was my lowest at my worst weight.
Really?
Yeah.
$120.
No.
That's really
Oh, yeah.
skinny for
And
you.
I remember
crazy,
people saying, like, not wanting to eat their steak trays and be like, dude, here, eat this.
Yeah.
And I'm like 3 or 4 trays
In
stacked,
jail.
Yeah.
Because I had nothing. I had no canteen. No one's helping me out.
Yeah.
And the dude was from Chelsea. He's like, watch, this kid's going to roll out of here at like 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I was about there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lifting water bags
Oh,
off
yeah.
broom handles.
Yep. Water bags. Yep. Water bags, push-ups, pull-ups.
Yeah.
No. Let's see. So 14, I started. 14 was the first time I ever tried heroin, and I bounced back and forth. I bounced back and forth between the 30s and the heroin, and like I still loved the taste of a perk 30, and that's what like kept drawing me back until my habit got out of control, and heroin was the only thing I could afford.
Basic economics.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy one perk 30 for $40. I'm gonna buy one bag of heroin for $40.
Yeah,
and
a gram.
Yeah.
I can get a gram for 40.
yeah. So I started sniffing heroin, and I sniffed it for quite a while, and bouncing in and out of detox. And at this time, I'm involved in the law, and I got charged with a couple pretty serious things, and I did some DYS time, and I got out and was put on house arrest for a while, and I started getting high again, and I thought that after doing like a year in DYS and another 6 months of house arrest, and like I was done, but about 3 months into my house arrest, and that was the first time actually that I broke 130 was after I got out of DYS. I came out like almost 160. And like nobody recognized me, and I lost that weight within.
Oh yeah, I bet.
My God, it was a month or maybe 2. I was back down to my normal weight, even skinnier probably, and
I was taught in one program that's called a dumping syndrome, where your body just dumps all the nutrients out in the waste, just dumps it.
No.
It's like nothing you can do. I remember one time I was drinking, meal drinks like 5, 6, 7 a day, plus eating as much food as I could do, just so I could try to hide.
Yeah.
When I had relapsed, you know what I mean, and I didn't want anybody to know. And
I was running around thinking I looked good.
Oh
20.
my God, yeah.
Like large sweatpants falling off. I wish I could fit in a large right now.
Yeah. So I got the bracelet off, and everything was pretty much cleared up. So now it's my time to start running again. And I checked myself into detox. I think I got sectioned my third time, and
so you did the 90 days on house arrest, and then
did the 90 days, and then I took off after that. And so my mom sectioned me maybe a couple weeks after, and I go into detox, and my habit wasn't screaming yet, and I'm like, no, I'm good, telling them, yeah, I'll go to further treatment, yeah, and at the last minute I back out. I'm like, no, I'm not going to further treatment, you guys can't force me. So my mom takes me home, and I made a promise to a counselor at the castle that if I came back again, that I would go to further treatment, and I was back within 6 days of leaving the third time.
Yeah,
and I walked in that door.
Once Mom found out about the section, it was over.
So I walk in those doors, and so the last time I left, I discovered needles. And so I walked into that door, and my arms were all beat up because I just found this new love.
Yeah, and you have no idea what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sticking everything, and I'm missing everything, and
it gets gross.
Yeah, I walked in, and the counselor that I made that promise to was standing right at that door, and she said, "So we're doing this time?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm jammed out." And I'm like, yeah. And she's doing my intake paperwork, and I pull out a cigarette, and I'm off my rocker, right? Like, what am I doing pulling out a cigarette in detox at 15 years old?
Yeah, first of all,
lighting it up.
Not even legal to have.
Yeah, I'm not even, so I stayed a long time in that detox waiting for the Cushing House. And I'll bring it back a little. So they wouldn't take me at the Cushing House, and I did a month at Cab Danvers, and then I came home and I started up again. I went back to detox. I went home.
What's that place like?
Cab Danvers is a 90-day program. It's simple. Yeah, it's not even called Cab anymore. They took it down, and they made another treatment facility. It's called Goodwin now. But it's just a 90-day treatment program, inpatient.
Like a TSS or holding?
Kinda, yeah. Like nothing too serious. Like they bring you out to a meeting once or twice a week, and no real recovery. Just staff members who are doing it for the job. Not really to help.
Have like groups. It's more like group therapy.
Yeah. So I went back into detox that fourth time, and after I promised to go to a further treatment program, I stayed at Castle for 91 days, and they finally took me into the Cushing House. So I went to the Cushing House, and that program taught me a lot about recovery. And I stayed at that program for 3.5 months, and I'd say 2 out of those 3.5 months I was getting high. And one night,
the program?
Yeah. One night, me and a kid, we left. We signed out to go to a meeting. We never went. We went out to cop, and we ended up getting robbed and a bunch of craziness. So we missed curfew. Curfew was at 10:30, and we ended up showing up at like 12:30 at night. And they were sitting there with 2 quick cups, and I said, "You can save the quick cup. Like, I'm gonna fail." So I said, "Okay, pack your stuff. You're getting out in the morning." So next morning I left.
Hit the bricks.
Yeah. Right. Get out of here. And so I left the next morning. Me and this kid went on a little run, and ended up calling my mom and saying I wanted to go back to treatment. And my friend Melvin said that he was also going to go back to treatment. So I checked myself back in. I was at the hospital, actually, and I'm running back and forth between the bathroom getting high, and I end up catching a nod in the middle of the emergency room, and they searched me. They brought me into the room and told me to strip down. And I'll tell you a funny story. They shut the door, and they said, "Put the gurney on and lay everything out." So I said, all right. And I tried to tape my drugs in between my ass crack, and there was a camera. There's a camera in the room, and my mother opens the door, and she starts yelling at me like, "Just give it to them," and so they kicked us out of the emergency room that night.
That ain't no way to live.
No. So this is my God moment.
John, turn your mic.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Sorry.
There you go.
My God moment was they kicked us out of that emergency room, and the second I walked out of that emergency room, my mom got a phone call from the castle saying, just bring him here. The insurance hasn't gone through, just get him here. Just bring him here and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, because, I mean, how many times have they had seen you?
Very,
Four,
very cool.
Five,
and you're walking in there like, yo, what's up, Maxie?
Right.
And thinking you're cool. And that's
no,
not cool.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to a treatment center and they know you by first name, and like, oh, how's your mom? And they say her name, and you're like, you know,
she's good.
At first you think you're cool, but then like you get a taste of sobriety, and you're like, wow.
Is that,
like, no, I don't want that no more.
Nope.
Right. Well, yeah, that's not how you want to live. But,
no.
But I mean, it's a road. It's people have to go what they go through.
Yep.
If you get it, it's a blessing, you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring it back real quick. When I was at the Cushing House, they introduced me to a recovery high school in downtown Boston called Ostagai Recovery High School. And that school was definitely the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. So when I checked back into detox, I went to another program. They allowed me from that program after a certain amount of time to go back to Ostagai. It's actually, the program was in Quincy on the island.
To what now? Ostagai?
Ostagai Recovery High School. It's in downtown Boston.
All right.
Yeah.
So they let me go back to this school, and that was where I found most of my recovery, was at this school and through the workers there and the AA meetings around Boston. And
so like, what's a day like in a recovery high school?
A day like in recovery high school is,
I mean, they have quite a few of them now.
Yeah, that they have,
which is
5
awesome.
in the
Around
state.
here?
5 in the state. Yeah,
that's cool.
One in Boston, one in Brockton, one in Springfield, one in Worcester, one in, I'm missing one. There's another one.
Well, I should say it's cool that they have them, but it's not really cool that they need them, and it's too bad, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it is awesome that they have them,
awesome
though, for
that they
sure.
have them.
At my regular high school, Attleboro High School, huge school, about 4,000 kids, probably about 1,500 a class. So my drug use and my emotional and needs, like, I could not get met at that school.
Right.
But at Recovery High School, my class was 20-something. I had classes of 5 inside my classroom. It was a regular school, really. Like I had to do regular homework, math, English, science, history. I'd get yoga during the day, one day a week.
Yoga?
Yoga.
See
we had,
that?
Wow.
we had a yoga teacher come in once a week for an hour. We do yoga. And then we had a recovery group at the end of the week. Some guest speakers would come in, and like, it was an awesome school. And I traveled from Attleboro to Boston on the train for 4 years until I got my diploma from that school.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the commuter rail.
On the commuter rail. So I'd get up at 5:30 in the morning. I'd get on the commuter rail by 6, get into school by 7:30, get out of school at 3:30, hop right on the train, go to my job in Mansfield, get back on the train, and then go home and then walk home. And I'd be up from about 5 to 11:30 midnight. I'd do it 5 days a week. And
wow.
But it was what
it's a lot.
Helped me, you know. And
yeah.
So through this school, I made a lot of connections. Worked very closely with the mayor and the governor and the attorney general of Massachusetts. I still work with them till this day. I was a guest speaker at the State House Recovery Day a couple times. I've spoken at multiple middle schools, high schools. I've done articles and news interviews, and I've tried my best to share my experience, strength, and hope with everybody, and share my story and get it out there and tell people.
Very, very cool, brother.
So I got sober when I was 16 years old on September 22nd, 2012, which gives me, check the time on my watch, about 5.5 years sober, living in recovery.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got sober at that program out on the island. And I'm not going to bash this program by any means, but there was absolutely no recovery in this program.
On Long Island?
Yeah, on Long Island. We went to a meeting maybe once a week.
Yeah, I think I know which one.
You know, we there was just no like recovery groups or anything like that. But for some reason it worked for me. And when I got out and my mom gave me my last chance, literally, she was like, if you don't do this like 16 years old, I really don't care. Like, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got this little taste of what recovery was like, and that's what helped, and that's what showed me that, like, or it really kept me going for a while. And I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got a sponsor, and I went through the steps, and nice. I did really, going back, like way back, like, you know, that first time I ever did a Perk 30, and it took that discomfort and out of my, you know, of myself and my own skin. Like, the 12 steps allowed me to figure out like why I felt that way, and really like helped me feel comfortable in my own skin, and like own who I am as a person, and really give me like this awakening of some sorts of this life. Experience. Yeah, you know, like, I'm not religious.
Psychic change.
Yeah, I'm not religious, but I do believe in a higher power, and I tell you, like, these 5.5 years have not been easy. Like, it's definitely not just like putting down the drugs and being like, yep, I'm all set. You do that work, and then somebody told me that counselor that I promised, she said, you know, you're gonna get sober and you're gonna start living in recovery, and life is still going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really understand what she said until I got into recovery.
Oh yeah.
Life still happens.
Oh yeah,
guys.
sure does. You've had some stuff. You've had some stuff happen.
Yep. So, you know, right now, I'll give you guys like what I'm doing right now with my life. I've done a lot of speaking, like I said, and working. I'm on a project called Project Here. I should say committee called Project Here. Really, it's like a grant, and we're giving it to middle schools in order to educate them about what addiction is. So
you have a grant from somewhere?
Well, it's through the Attorney General, so I work with the Attorney General very closely. It's a grant from the state? Yep. And it's going to be spread out between 326, I want to say, middle schools around the Massachusetts area.
Wow.
And it's going to pretty much provide either a person who can educate these kids or information that can educate these kids during class. It's pretty much making like health and wellness and recovery a core curriculum class.
That's really good. Well, I think it's so obvious that is the crux of what's going on, and I think there's a lot of things, factors. You know what I mean? And the education is a huge key.
Yep.
The identity piece, the education of understanding where the road leads is another one. The feeling comfortable in your own skin, and it's okay not to feel comfortable, and not to you know, freak out because you're already all right.
Yep.
And you know, at that age, you're just so you know, wide-eyed, and you're just there to see what's to do and what's going on. And you know, even if you know, feel like you know something, you're half pretending like you know what you're talking about all the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's just you're so vulnerable, and those are the people that really need the help. There's some serious disconnects in this country, I think, especially because you know, our culture, the way it is, it's like you have to be this or be that, or you know, everybody shows their best foot forward, and you think that, you know, you look out at the people on Instagram or on you know, YouTube or something like that, and you don't see reality. You don't see a full person.
No.
And you compare yourself to their best thing that they put forth, and you feel inadequate. And how can you feel better? And that's how you can get trapped into these into doing, using and all these.
Oh yeah, I mean,
paths.
just watch the news. Like that designer Kate Spade, like,
oh yeah,
didn't have to worry about anything. 55-year-old woman.
What happened?
Depressed. She hung herself.
Yeah,
but she had been drinking for a while.
Yeah,
and I'm just going off of what I read, and her family had tried getting her treatment, but she was worried what people were going to think.
Yeah.
Right. Because she was her public persona.
Yeah. Like Kate Spade, like they sell it everywhere. You know what I mean? Like purses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Friggin' wristlets, all that stuff. But this woman, afraid to get treatment because of what people will say about her.
Yeah, man.
Hangs herself.
The delusion that comes with, because obviously you're looking for the dopamine rush too.
Yeah.
Right. It's chemical. Everybody likes dopamine. Yeah. Eating something fantastic, sex. Accomplishing something real.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Dopamine. That's like the pleasure,
the reward center,
pleasure chemical. It goes off in your brain, and you can do that by going down the street and giving this dude $30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have to do shit. I don't have to think about nothing, and it's reliable every time. And and that's the other thing you got to fight against. That's what the education, I think, will do for kids. Look out, because what happens is you keep going down to the guy down the corner, and you're living under a bridge, and you're getting arrested.
Oh, yeah.
And also, what happens if everything was legal, right?
Yeah.
There's no threat of arrest. I think the threat of arrest was a big part of me getting sober, because I didn't want to live that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was I don't know if that's a good thing either.
Yeah, and like my group used to go on commitments where he was, and like I had met him when he was young over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like when I shared in there, like I didn't pull no punches. It was like,
no.
Like some of you may not make it.
Yep.
Some of you females may end up a prostitute. Some of you guys might be living under a bridge, and they're looking at me like,
what is going on?
What do you mean? No, that's reality.
What happened?
That's what could happen to you.
When I bring my story real quick, full round, I now work at that program that I attended 6 times as an addict.
Yeah, man. That's
and
cool.
So I now,
cool.
I now work there, and right now, but when I first started working there, and I was bringing in these commitments, and I'm like, don't hold back, please, because you'd have some people come in and they'd say, I drank, and my life got really unmanageable, but I'm here, and it's like, then I've had some guys come in and go like way over the top, and it's like, okay, well, gotta find that happy medium. But like Chris comes in, he's like, no, like I'm gonna be dead serious with you guys. Like some of you guys are not gonna make it. Some of you girls are going to be prostitutes if you keep going down this path. Like, and really get real with them, because with me, if somebody came in and was just like, oh, you're gonna be all right, I'd be like, you're giving me the green light.
Yeah, exactly.
You're giving me the green light.
All right, what can I get from this person?
Yeah.
So that's what I always was taught. You can't coddle an addict.
Yep.
But I mean, for these kids, it must be good for them to see someone in their age group,
right,
who's
or
done
closer
this,
anyway,
who's done this and who's made it through it and is on the other side.
Oh yeah,
and
even
like
with the age change, it's crazy.
Yeah.
16 to 20. Some kids come in 19, 20 years old. I'm 2 years older than them, and I'm sitting there and I'm telling them when they can go to the bathroom and when they can do this, or what group they're supposed to be in, and they're like, you're only 2 years older than me, and I'm like, no, but I've earned the right to wear this badge. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be where I'm sitting on the other side of things, like, put the drugs down and do some work on yourself.
Oh, I'd call them out for like writing shit in the bathroom walls. I'd be like, who's a dick that is writing on the walls in the bathroom? Like, honestly, like, would you do that at your house?
Yeah.
No. These people are here to help you, and you guys are like writing crap on the bathroom walls about each other. Like, you know.
I'll tell you guys a funny story real quick. There was a kid there, and he drew these 3 dicks on the bathroom stall, and I swear to God, they were like gigantic dicks. One of them was a tall, skinny one, and that was me. Another one was like a small, fat one, and that was another coworker of mine. And another one was just like a solid, big, huge dick, and that was another coworker, and it was like how much we are a dick to them while we're working. You know what I mean? So like I was a skinny, small dick. I'm
but
upright.
I mean, that's their level. That's
yeah,
you know what I mean?
like 19 years old, someone's doing that, and it's like, how old are you really?
Right.
What are the drugs really doing? How old are you really? You're 19 years old, but you're drawing dicks on the bathroom stall. So I'm going to put you around 12, 13.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
You know? When we were in the program me and Chris went to, it was called Project Turnabout, and it was a therapeutic community. So the residents who have been there for a long time would basically take care of discipline and problems in the house, and you would call what was called a house meeting, get all the residents in the same room, and the senior residents would be sitting up front, and they'd be reading the riot act about this stuff. And so I remember periodically there would always be a house meeting about people taking a shit in the bathroom and not cleaning it up properly, making a mess in the toilet, whatever. And so I was on re-entry, which means like I'm working and I'm not really involved in the house too much, but I sat in on this house meeting, and I couldn't help myself because I had already been to the same type of meeting like 3 times.
Yeah, right.
You know, with different groups of people in the house as I was there for 9 months, and so I'm like, you guys are shitting on the house. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
You think I'm shitting you?
I have no clue what's going on.
Nobody even picked up on it. Everyone's like dead serious. I'm like,
come on.
Crack a joke.
Crack a joke.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's you know, I'm glad to hear that, you know, they're doing stuff, because I mean, I get young kids, you know, and if this thing is genetic, then, you know, they're more apt to become addicts than, you know, someone else that they're in class with. You know what I mean? It's
in my path. I had a daughter. She's 15 months old. So
you're a dad now.
Yep, cool. I'm a dad now. 22 years old, and
hey, that's not necessarily a bad
no,
thing.
it's definitely not. She's a blessing, guys. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? I don't see her too often because her and her mom live in Virginia. But when I do, she is the funniest and cutest little
beautiful
funny girl in the world.
So things are going okay with that?
Yeah, things are.
Yeah, there she is.
Very cool.
Things are doing all right.
Very cool.
Working stuff out, figuring
making
it out.
Making it work. Yeah, that can be very difficult.
Yep, that's what you got to do.
My son was 9 months or something like that when I got sober. He's 13 now. And he's going into Votech next year.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, it's a big change. You know, he doesn't have really friends in his high school now. You know, and now this is going to be going to a school where there's people from all over. It's going to be a big change. You know?
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, but I know his basic personality is good, solid.
I think I fared better at Southeastern than I would have at Brockton High.
Yeah, well,
honestly.
Brockton's a special place.
Yes.
Brockton's a special place. The work out of Brockton, definitely special.
Definitely a special place.
Have you ever seen the meme with the Lion King and Simba? And it says, and see that shadowy place? That's Brockton. We won't go there.
I always said, you know, Brockton's the city of champions.
Yeah.
On crack.
Yes.
I was locked up when they had their, I think it's a AAA team. Their baseball team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh really? They got a baseball team? What are they called? They're like the Brockton Rocks. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like really? There's enough rocks in Brockton. I don't think we need a team named Rocks.
What a brilliant idea.
Yeah. That's
perfect.
awesome.
Oh,
that is awesome.
I was like, no, they didn't. Who named them?
Oh my God.
So.
Someone not from Brockton.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, you're a power of example to a lot of young kids out there. And,
yeah, that's fantastic.
You know,
Thank
like
you for doing that.
To be 22 and have 5.5 years of sobriety, that's
fantastic.
Pretty impressive, you know. And
I couldn't even believe it when I got that 5-year chip. It's funny because and this sounds very weird, but like I really didn't, like, I had so much going on. I like really didn't. I just was living life. Like I didn't even realize I was coming up on 5 years, and you know, it got so close that like I didn't plan my anniversary and somebody to give me my chip, and a friend of mine, an intern that worked at the school, saying no names, that, you know, she reached out to me and asked me to come speak at Banyan Treatment Center. So I went up to Banyan, and she presented me with my 5-year chip, and like this was one of those girls. When I first went to that school, like I was very like rock solid hard with my emotions and opening up. Like I did not open up to anybody or anything. I didn't talk about anything.
When you were still using?
No, it was early recovery, and I didn't really know what to do with these emotions and who to tell about or talk about, or
full of fear.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And she was the first person to ever break through to me, and the first person to get me to open up about something small, you know. But that something small turned into something big, and then
oh yeah, you dip your toe.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, you're diving on.
Yeah, you know, I'm like, I'm like,
swan dive.
I want to see your facial expressions when you tell me that, or when I tell you that I did this horrible thing. And when she sat there and she looked at me with a straight face, like, yeah, I've heard, like, I mean, I've heard worse than that. Like, you're not scaring me, or I'm not judging you, or it's like, well, let me tell you about this and this and this and this and this. You know, like, I wanted to tell somebody, and I mean, later in my recovery, I was telling my sponsor, and I was doing that work. But early recovery, I had so much emotion. I didn't know. I had no idea. I was mad. I was angry. I was sad. All within hours. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what to do. And the best thing for me was really just kind of laying it out, like what was going on in my head, as crazy or as insane it might sound. Telling another human being, I still told it to somebody, and that weight that gets lifted off your shoulders is huge. You know what I mean?
If the world could see like what's projected in my head, like if my thoughts got projected like on a screen,
oh my god,
I'd probably be doing time, dude.
Yeah.
You know, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, man, it's some good stuff. You know, you staying active with recovery, and like I've met a lot of people that work in treatment, and you know, a lot of them like use their treatment as their recovery, and it's not the same thing.
No, and I've had a lot of people who I've worked with who are in recovery, and or I shouldn't even say people I just worked with, but people who I knew who worked in treatment and ended up, you know, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to work in treatment and early recovery, late recovery, any recovery. It's very hard to work in treatment with these addicts. And like you would think that like seeing somebody come in so sick and suffering would like turn you away from it, but it doesn't. And it's not that like it's like, oh, I want to go out there and do this again, or I have another run in me. It's just the emotional toll that it takes on you.
Yeah, and you're not paying attention to how you feel and what's going on.
Yep. It's an old pathway that's still there. It just hasn't been traveled down in a while. The groove is still there. You know what I mean? I feel that. Like when I think back of how in the grip I was and how strong it was, I can feel that groove, that pathway, that just like reaction without stopping and pausing and thinking about just going to use, and just it's just it's so insidious, it's so strong,
it's sneaky
and
before you even know it,
right, because it's not like let me think about the pros and cons here. Let me write something down, or maybe I'll call a few people and talk myself into it, and then I'll go use. No, it's like use.
Dopamine. Going back to that dopamine.
Right.
You know,
just go get that dopamine rush.
Yeah, finding something else was a huge part of my recovery too. Find that dopamine somewhere else.
I think we're about there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Goes pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. Wow.
This is a very enjoyable thing to do. Hopefully we're getting better and better at it all the time.
Yep.
So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
That was a great one. Thank you for just being so young and working in recovery the way that you do, that's so fantastic.
And if if there's anyone out there that's young and they want to get in touch with Andrew, or need help, message us on the Facebook page, or
you can find me at Facebook, Andrew William, or you can reach out to the podcast. Chris has my phone number.
Yep.
You can get that going for sure.
Yeah, parents, it doesn't matter, anybody.
Yep.
Right. So it's LOLTERMS.com. That's our site, LOLTERMS.com. It's Life on Life's Terms podcast is the Facebook group. And we're on Google Play. We're on iTunes podcast. Please support. We're trying here.
Yep, just trying to do our part.
Trying to do our part. All right, so that's going to be a wrap.
All right.
We went.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Peace.